Hello, traders and stock market fans from all over the world. It's your boy, Jerremy Alexander Newsome with Real Life Trading. Hope you're doing simply sensational. I want to make this video on request from a lot of traders. It's entitled to take the breakout or take the retest. And I will say this, I love and I will never hate on a lot of the other educational companies out there because they're doing a really good service. They're trying to teach people how to trade the stock market. The truth of the matter is that a lot of them just absolutely butcher this topic. And I'm going to do the best I can to explain the why, okay? The why behind when you do what you do. Make it as simplistic as I can. That's one of my objectives of trading and teaching, is to make it simple. Because as difficult as the stock market is, it's also quite simple. It's kind of like a relationship. Right? Relationships, they can be a little complicated at times, but overall they're also relatively simple. One person likes another person, and that's really about it. So the rest is just details. And in trading, it can be kind of the same way. So I'm going to talk about how to take the breakout or the retest. I will say you will need a really pretty solid understanding of candlestick patterns to do this, and it doesn't not necessarily work as well with Hishinaki candles, if that's how you pronounce it. I don't use those personally, and here's why. I just personally have trained myself on regular candlesticks, so I'll explain that in just a moment. Anyway, if you want a little bit of a better understanding on candlesticks, I would suggest hopping over to a really cool website where all the education that I teach is free, reallifetraining.com, and you can click over here on education and scroll down here to the ebooks and click on candlesticks. That is free. I just need your name and email address so I know when I'm emailing you who I'm talking to. So let's hop over here to the Apple. Everyone loves Apple. Pull up the candlestick chart. And we're going to talk about when to take the breakout and when to take the retest. And it's going to be really simple. You guys ready? I'm going to wrap this video up pretty quickly because it's really not that intense. Here you go. Take the breakout or take the retest. The answer you're looking for is how many candles of the same color have occurred before your decision. How many candles have occurred before your decision? Let's hop over here to Apple, and I'm going to come over to not too long ago, back in early 2015, and I'm going to discuss this little resistance right here. So this was a prior all-time high breakout on Apple. It had never been higher than this before, and there's the breakout right there. So that's the breakout, as everyone would classify it. Stock comes up into resistance and then breaks out. So how would you know to take that trade? Because I did. A lot of other traders in the real life training rooms did take that particular trade. How would you know? Well, take the breakout of the retest. How many candles of the same color occurred before it happened? So you had one white candle. So let me actually zoom in here a little bit more. Here's your white candle or your bullish candle. Here's your resistance line again. And there is the breakout right there. And you had one bullish candle. There's your bullish candle. And before that, you had bearish candle. You had a few other candles, but they're pretty mixed, right? It's a pretty mixed bag. And here's another key. You guys ready? Gap action. There was a beautiful gap that occurred right there that trapped people. That is what I refer to as a gap and go. It's a strong gap. And people are trapped, people are losing money. So you had a gap that trapped people and a consolidation before the high of the day. Before the breakout. This consolidation, you can see, was just a sideways trading of a few days, and then the stock broke out. That's when you're going to take a breakout. So let me kind of rephrase. When there's a little bit of a consolidation, boom, there's a consolidation. If there is a gap recently, so there's the recent gap. And if there's not a lot of white candles or not a lot of bullish candles, if you're taking a bullish breakout, I will use a bearish example in just a little bit. So there's your, take the breakout. Yes, you would take the breakout in this scenario. Your trigger would be right about there. You would get in bullish. Your stop would go right about there. And you could buy call options. You could sell put options. You could buy shares, whatever your juice, feel free to drink it. Now, a lot of you are saying, who might have watched my videos, but Jerremy, this is a retest gap. You would think, ironically, that you would wait for a retest, and I would not disagree with you. If you want to wait for a retest, and kind of the comma or the semicolon of this entire topic today is, if you can't decide which one to take, always take the retest. If you have no idea which one to do, always take the retest because there always will be a retest at some point in time in the future. Now, that's a very vague definition, but it could be days, weeks, years, months. It could hours, seconds. It will happen at some point. The retest on an intraday level occurred actually the very next day. Notice that little lower wick right there. That was the retest. You might not have gotten, that was the very fast one. So usually with a retest, you get a very quick one the next day or two. The next day or two or three, you get the retest. So with a retest of any kind, almost everything retests almost the next day or the next day or two. Okay, so just throwing that out there. If you can't decide, always take the retest. Then, again, this is a retest gap, white candle gapping up. It traded higher, and it did pull back and retest. And there were some other good buying opportunities here on Apple. As you can see, it did pull back and bounce. So there you go. What about right up here? Would you take this breakout? No way, no how. Why? Well, how many white candles do you have before the breakout? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 white candles as opposed to 2 really, really small, pathetic black candles. There's no consolidation. There's no resting. And you would not take the breakout there by any means. That's the place to sell. And I know you can say, Jeremy, that's in hindsight. Nope, it's not hindsight. It's exactly where I sold Apple, right in here. And that's just where it needs to be done. So kind of scrolling back here. And again, obviously you can see all this resistance right there. Boom. There's your resistance. And again, if you're going to get a breakout, you absolutely want to close above resistance. So that's another key word. If you're going to take the breakout, you are going to want to wait for a close. How do you get in before the end of the day? I usually have a rule. I like to wait till 3:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 3:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. After that, between 3:45 and 4, if my stock or the stock price is above the resistance or below the support, and I'm playing the breakout, you're going to want to wait for a close. I'll say that again. You're going to want to wait for a close on a breakout. You're going to want to make sure the stock can break through the resistance or the support that you are attempting for it to do. Let's do a bearish. Do you take a bearish retest or a bearish breakout? And here is Apple. So again, you can see some support here on Apple there. You can see some support here. Obviously, there's some support right there as well on Apple. And here's when you take the bearish breakout, in my opinion. Previous candles, again, it's the same thing. The amount of color is a really important detail. There's no specific number that I'm saying, okay, it needs to be this, but I'll say this. If it's really more than 1 or 2, you're probably going to want to take the retest. So I think that's a pretty good rule. If it's more than 1 or 2 candles of the same color, so if it's 3 or more, then take the retest automatically. Because if you get 1 black candle, 2 black candles, 3 black candles, that means the selling has already happened, and you're going to want to take the retest. You're going to want to wait for the pullback, which obviously Apple did. Now, also on the bearish breakout, you're going to want to make sure the trend is bearish, okay? If you're taking a bearish breakout, you're going to need absolutely 100% need to understand gaps and make sure that that gap is trapping people, because this little breakout on Apple right there was not a breakout. It really was just a retest of old all-time highs, pulled back into support, and it bounced again to this resistance. Now, what about this, Jeremy? What about this breakdown right here? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about dun, dun, dun. So this particular stock right there closes below the support. How many black candles were there in a row? Well, let's go back to kindergarten and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 black candles in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, would you have taken the breakout or the retest? And the answer is retest. Yes. So you would have missed 2 or 3 days of movement. Absolutely, you would have missed a few days of movement. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. There's the retest. Look at this. Risk reward. Boom. Short the retest. Stop up there. Voila. Huge profits to be had. That's when you take the retest, all right? Check out the amount of candles. Make sure it's closing below your support or resistance line. And if there's a lot of black candles in a row, you're going to want to take the retest. If there's a lot of bullish candles in a row, you're going to want to take the retest. If there's a nice little gap and some consolidation and some resting, you can take the breakout. Let me give you another example of just something current, present day. Jose Cuervo. It's not Jose Cuervo at all. I just think it is. QRVO. So this is an example of when I was taking the breakout or want to take the breakout. So I'll zoom out all time. Here you go. Here's the zoom out. And so you can see this is sideways, but overall we're going down on QRVO. There's a support around $42.82. Boom, there's the support. You can see we bounced there once, we bounced there twice. And you had a few white candles coming into the support. There's your few white candles. You had a consolidation or a slowdown at support, and then you had a gap action. The stock gapped down, white candles, gapping down. Anyone who bought there, and we know someone bought there for sure because we have some white candles. So white candles there, someone bought there. Stock gaps down. We got a high wave candle the next day. So if you got embarrassed on that day, great, no worries. That's the breakout. Okay, that is the breakout. If you did not get embarrassed on that day, okay, you can have this exact trade set up. I actually wanted a close below this candle. After I saw this candle, and I wanted to close below it when this candle, that's all that was there, was just that candle. The reason I wanted to close below it is because it has a big upper shadow and a big lower shadow, so it's a very indecisive candle. When I say indecisive, you want closes if something is indecisive, right? You want to close. If you're a real estate agent and your buyer is indecisive, you want to close that deal. So if something is indecisive, you want to close above or below to make sure it's going that direction. The next day, you get a beautiful inside day candle, which means the open, high, low, and close of that candle is entirely in between the high and low of the previous day. Inside day candle, volume declined. I call this a 2-day Pinnate pattern. There's your 2-day Pinnate pattern. That's a rest. And I changed the trigger from a close to an intraday. So when the stock gaps down, we got triggered in at the open at 37.92, and this is a potential trade setup on QRVO. If you know anything about retest gaps, this is a black candle gapped down. So you have 3 black candles in a row. Am I taking the break out of that? If you're not in, no, you would take the retest. So if the stock can trade back into here, retest, and then roll over again, this is another shorting opportunity on QRVO. If you're watching this in the future, feel free to pull the stock chart up and see what it actually ended up doing. If it traded down lower, you should hop over to reallifetrading.com and maybe even subscribe to one of our trading rooms where we do set up trades for our students. So hop over to reallifetrading.com. All the education that I teach is entirely free. Videos, articles, it's all there. Check it out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Newsome Nuggets. Email me if you ever have any questions. Jerremy at reallifetrading.com. And until the next video that you watch with Real Life Trading, thanks so much. Tell your friends. Our mission is to enrich lives. You guys are absolutely fantastic. You rock, and I'll see you later. Bye.